I grew up in Britain my entire life, and apart from the odd thing, I thought all of our health habits were pretty decent. But then I moved to Australia, and within about 6 months I realised that we're missing something, because there are a handful of habits that Aussies do every single week that Brits would either ignore or not even think to do. They're very small and subtle life changes that to most people look boring on the outside. But since adopting them, my health is much better. My body has got healthier, my mental well-being feels more calm and relaxed, and even my relationships are stronger. And if I moved back to the UK tomorrow and stopped doing these things, I would honestly feel like my life had been downgraded. So in this video today, I'm going to show you the 5 strange Aussie habits that Brits don't do, but probably should. Let's get into it. Number 1, Aussies treat water like a second living room. In Britain, swimming is just a nostalgic school memory. You know, we would go to the swimming pool on a Friday for our swimming lesson, that was it. In Australia, it's a daily thing. You might be having a barbecue at someone's house, and you can jump in the pool. Random weekday beach swims are absolutely normal, and this is coming from a guy who spent 3 years of my life living in Cornwall, and even the locals wouldn't go to the beach that often, even though we had gorgeous sandy beaches, lovely water. You will see places like Bondi Beach absolutely packed at 5 AM for the sunrise, have a run along the beach, then go for a dip afterwards. But you're probably thinking, Sam, this isn't really a health habit, it's just an activity. I'd argue that it's a huge health habit. Not only are you outside getting a bit of healthy vitamin D if you're, going for a sunrise or a sunset swim, but studies like this one have shown that when you submerge yourself in water, it has this really calming effect. And the thing I love about Australia is they make swimming so accessible. In Brisbane, there was a deal over, I want to say Christmas, where I think it was only like $2 to go to a range of lovely, well-kept indoor pools. There's also a free outdoor pool in the city centre of Brisbane with the city skyline around you. Some people think it's a bit gross and dirty. I love it. It almost has this ability to erase this never-ending to-do list in my brain, and I can actually just switch off for a second. And then being able to do some gentle movement. I know as a runner that having a swim is a great use of recovery training. Whereas in the UK, from my experience, swimming feels like a very effortful thing to do. It's a big organisation thing. You don't just have that swimming bag already packed like you would in Australia, ready to go throw in the car. You then have to go online and find a pool near you, especially one that's heated if it's outdoors. And then if you go to like a gym pool or somewhere like that, it's just really expensive. And once I realised that Aussies spend a lot of time in water, I realised they spend a lot of time in another place, and that's outside. Now, number 2 is Aussies eat outside constantly. In the last year and a half I've been living in Australia, I've eaten more meals outdoors than I have in my entire lifetime in the UK. Breakfast out on your front veranda, if you're lucky enough to have one, is a very normal thing. And cooking a meal for friends and family, and then taking it outside to sit in your backyard and have a lovely meal with everyone, outdoors with nature around you, with, the bats flying over your head. This is all very, very normal and regular here. Look, I thought, it's a nice thing to do. It feels good, it makes you a bit happier, but it's not gonna have that much of an impact on your health. But I've realized that actually eating indoors now in front of the telly, it does not feel anywhere near as good as eating outdoors. Also, there's a lot of cafes and even restaurants in Queensland which are like half pavement, basically. Also, I feel like being outdoors with other people, eating and drinking, is a really great environment to meet new people and make friends. I love a cold British cafe. I miss them a bit every now and then, but they do feel a little bit more blue. They do feel a little bit more grey. In fact, in Britain, weather actually controls your life, just like the 87% of people who regularly watch these videos and aren't yet subscribed. So if you're enjoying this, what are you doing? Subscribe, go on. No, I'm just joking. I don't mind if you don't, by the way. But when the sunshine comes out in the UK, it's almost like everyone becomes an Australian. People are more social. They're chatting to each other. They're eating outdoors. People are being kinder to each other. But another reason why eating outdoors has big benefits on your health is that you want to stay outside with your loved ones and your friends, having a conversation for a little bit longer. You don't want to rush inside as much. You don't want to rush inside back to work as much. You want to sit outside with them and enjoy that time. We know from studies like this that having a strong social circle, having at least a few people in your life that you can have a regular meet up with and a regular chat, it has huge benefits for our longevity. Now, when the weather is really bad here and I can't get outside as much and I can't spend spend as much time with my loved ones, there is a habit that I've started doing, and it's using a vagus nerve stimulator, and XenoWell have very kindly sponsored this video, and they sent me one. Well, from all of this health research, I've learned that the vagus nerve is basically the main communication highway of your parasympathetic nervous system. That's the part of your body responsible for the rest and digest functions like slowing your heart rate, helping you break down food, and supporting your immune system. So what you do, you plug the earpiece into the device, there's a branch of this nerve that comes to your skin in your ear, and then you turn it on, and what it does is it sends electrical stimulation to basically calm your body down and in turn calm your mind. So as you can see, there's 4 different modes. There's relief, there's sleep, there's relax, which is the one I use, and it is completely painless. I've been using it for the last few weeks on and off. It's been great for sleep, it's been great for accelerated recovery while I'm training for the Gold Coast Marathon, but my favorite thing about it is it doesn't just calm down my muscles, it also calms down my mind, which is someone who has a bit of anxiety, I really need. So if you want an easy habit that will noticeably improve your well-being, I would highly recommend using the XenoWell Luna, and XenoWell have given our lovely community 15% off, which is very kind of them. So you can either scan that QR code here or use the link in the top of the description, and make sure to use my code SAMFORD for that lovely discount. Number 3, Aussies plan their lives around an invisible number. There's a number that Australians check way more than weather. What is that number, you ask? It's the UV index, the number that measures the UV radiation we get from the sun. Now, some people like to believe that UV radiation isn't harmful at all, and completely on the contrary, it is very harmful. Not only is it a huge contributing factor to our skin aging and looking older, but also it's a big cause of melanoma, aka skin cancer, which is alarmingly high in Australia, as you'd expect with extreme UV here. I literally have on my phone screen, as you can see, a UV widget that tells me what the UV is right now. As a general rule of thumb, anything 3 or below is pretty safe to go out with. Anything higher, ideally you need to use lots of sun protection. So maybe that looks like a UV umbrella. Maybe that means wearing long sleeve clothing that is UV protected. And a big obvious one is sunscreen. Now, sunscreen is a controversial one, and there's a lot of misinformation out there, right? But if you're that worried, just use a zinc sunscreen or something natural. Aussies have built such an amazing sun safety culture. At Aussie schools, the rule is no hat, no play. You can't go outside at break time if you didn't bring your hat that day. And I've made the very British mistake of going out for my run midday when the UV's at its highest, and there's been no one around. I'm like, where are all the Aussies going for their runs? It's because they're smart and they know to stay indoors midday when the UV is extreme. But anyway, that respect for your body, I've noticed, shows up in other ways. Like number 4, in Australia, you're allowed to say no. Sam, what are you talking about? You're allowed to say no in the UK? Yes, you are. I've been pressured to drink in the UK a huge amount of times. I've never been pressured to drink once in Australia. Of course, it helps that I arrived to the country as a sober person, but I have noticed in the UK that drinking feels a lot more tribal. And it's really sad, right? Because if somebody offered you a chocolate and you said, no, thank you, you go, no problem. You wouldn't think anything of it. But a lot of British people, not everyone of course, they seem to take it personally. It's almost like it makes them reflect on their own habits and makes them feel like they're doing something wrong by drinking. And sometimes their immediate reaction is to either peer pressure you to drink, so, you know, they feel a bit better about what they're doing, or to treat you like an outsider and a really strange and odd person because you don't drink. You know, they might avoid you. And it's lovely in Australia, there's no, just have one, mate, go on, just one, you're fine. So you're like, oh, do you want beer, Sam? I'm like, I'm all good then. They're like, sweet as, no worries, mate. To me, as a Brit, is a really unusual health habit, but a massive life-changing one, which just makes me feel right at home. But anyway, once I stopped sitting around all the time and I actually got out there, I realized this next thing. Number 5, Aussies don't snack the way that Brits do. I used to eat chocolate digestives without even thinking in the UK. Tea in Britain, stereotypically, often comes with a nice little bicky. Just never give me the dead fly biscuit. Don't like that one. And even with the sugar tax that's come into the UK, it's so much cheaper than you think. Whereas when I came to Australia, I noticed that a lot of the chocolate and crisps and sweets and cakes were in much smaller packet sizes, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Their portion sizes for snacks are much smaller and much more expensive here, meaning that people don't snack in the same way that Brits do. But even though I've got a massive sweet tooth, I've had a filling recently, I'm very embarrassed to admit, I still don't snack anywhere near as much as I would do in the UK. These things aren't like I've suddenly moved to Australia and I'm suddenly super disciplined and I've got all this willpower. No, it's just so much easier to make these habits happen. When you zoom out, none of these habits seem that dramatic on their own. None of them seem that unusual to Australians, but if you put them all together, to a Brit, you will seem like a completely different person. But if you enjoyed this video, I know you're absolutely going to love this video here, all about the productivity habits that I picked up when I first moved to Australia. Go watch that, let me know what you think, and don't forget to hit that little subscribe button, join the community. Thanks for watching to the end. I will see you in the next one. Bye.